No, and I didn't get a notification that you're live. Let me go on to the page. It says I'm interacting as 4 Points Chiropractic.
Okay, I think I'm live this time. All right, so I got a dry run through there. um, Apparently, I wasn't live, even though it told me I was live. So that's, I guess, the fun of Facebook. Thank you for joining us with our Facebook Live about adrenal function and making sure that your adrenal glands are healthy. Keyframe is too low. I don't know what that means. Just gonna keep talking. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. You know, I always think that I've got my technology stuff down, and then something happens, and I'm like, I don't. So I'm Dr. Mary Elder. I'm part of 4 Points Family Chiropractic. We are located in Northern Austin. We are off of 2222 and 620, right at the front of the River Place neighborhood. So that's where we're located. Thanks for stopping in to talk to us about adrenal function here. It's a small but mighty gland in your body, and I guess you could say that about most of the endocrine system. But what it does is it's basically responsible for our body getting the energy that it needs. They are small little glands. You have two of them. They sit on top of your kidneys. Dr. Haley likes to say they're the berets of your kidneys. They look like little hats on top. So I like to think of them that way. They secrete several hormones into your body. One of them controls from your adrenal medulla is your adrenaline. So that is what puts you into fight or flight. If you spend any time in our office or talk to any of our doctors, you know how seriously we take the fight or flight complex that happens in your body. It has a lot to do with your nervous system function. It also is responsible for secreting a hormone called cortisol, and that's what we'll be talking about most today. What cortisol does is it controls your body's use of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. It increases your blood sugar. So when you need energy, your brain tells your body to release cortisol, and blood sugar goes into your body so it can be utilized by your cells to create energy. Cortisol also decreases inflammation in your body, which is why often when you are having some sort of inflammatory process, an MD might give you a pack or a course of cortisone. It is to decrease overall inflammation in your body. It regulates your blood pressure, has a lot to do with that. And cortisone is also released during times of stress to help give your body an extra boost in case you need to handle an emergency. So I'll come back to that later. And more importantly, cortisol controls your sleep and your wake cycle. If you are tuning into this, chances are you're probably having some issues with your sleep, either getting to sleep or staying asleep. That is what I hear most commonly with our patients. Disclaimer here that true adrenal dysfunction, either over or underproduction, so things like Addison's disease, Cushing's disease, those are rare, first of all, but they're also diagnosed and treated by an endocrinologist. This Facebook Live is more for people who keep hearing things like, your labs look fine, try to get more sleep, rest more. That's a frustrating thing to hear because usually people are like, yeah, no, I know, I should be sleeping more. The problem is that I can't get to sleep, or I can't stay asleep. So as good advice as that is, I don't really know what to do. And people are exhausted all of the time because of this. So if you understand your adrenals better, you can come up with strategies, and I'm going to give you some today that are going to help yourself. Now, the adrenal glands know how to work depending, of course, on our master system, which is our nervous system. Your brain gets feedback from your body and your environment that it needs energy or something's out of balance, you're not in homeostasis. That signal will go through your hypothalamus, which is one of your control centers in your brain. Your hypothalamus tells your pituitary gland, hey, we need energy. And the pituitary gland sends a signal to your adrenal glands to release cortisol to go into your body so that your body can start making that energy from what it needs to. This hypothalamus pituitary link should sound familiar to those of you who tuned in to our Facebook Live about thyroid function. It's the same concept. The hypothalamus and the pituitary gland are very, very important for making sure your endocrine system does what it's supposed to do. If you didn't catch that Facebook Live, it's on our YouTube channel, but it's all about thyroid function. And those signals are going to go through your body, and your brain has to be able to interpret your environment and the feedback from your body appropriately so that it knows when to tell your adrenal glands to do more work. Our job in our office is to always make sure that your nervous system can do that appropriately. Those signals, that information is going to get through no matter what. Your body is very intelligent. Our job is to make sure that it's getting through at the optimal speed and efficiency so that your body's able to adapt to your environment very quickly. Because how quickly and efficiently we can adapt to our environment is the difference between being sick and being well, or having an injury and not having an injury. Basically, it controls our healing process. We assess every single one of our patients for this. We're checking your nervous system all the time to make sure that it's functioning optimally. But you might know someone in your life who doesn't adapt very well to their environment, or they have issues with making sure that they're healing well, and you just can tell their nervous system isn't functioning very well. If they need to get checked out, they can call our office at 512-345-9355. A full assessment in our office includes a nervous system workup. We do any necessary neurological and orthopedic testing, any necessary full spine x-rays, and a review findings with the doctor. That usually runs $348 in our office. If they call and mention this Facebook Live and say the word cortisol, they can get that full assessment for $97. If the person you're thinking about is not in Austin, let us know and we will find a doctor that can help them with the same thing wherever they might be. Now, the way cortisol works is it naturally spikes with our circadian rhythm, our diurnal rhythm. So what'll happen is it peaks early in the morning. You wake up, you need energy, you start your day, you basically get the ball rolling. And then it slowly decreases throughout the day so that you can kind of ride that wave. And then it starts to bottom out at nighttime, and then it reaches its lowest at about midnight. And that's when we should be sleeping. Now, ideally, this would mean that we wake up with no help at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. We start our day, we have energy, we're motivated, and then we go to bed with no help. We sleep all through the night, and we wake up naturally again about 6 to 7 in the morning the next day. Sounds great, right? Sounds ideal. How many of you is this happening for? Not many, right? Like, I hear people all the time in the office talking about how they have trouble getting to sleep, staying asleep, they crash early in the day. That's all cortisol and blood sugar and your adrenal glands not functioning ideally. If we're maladaptive to our environment, this is what happens. So that chart that I just described, it shifts in the timeline. It just moves down. What I hear most often is that people wake up and the first thing they do is they reach for a stimulant because they have to. So coffee, a Monster, a Red Bull, they grab something that's going to caffeinate them so that they can really start their day. Then they get the day started, have a few good hours of energy, and then around 2 or 3 p.m., there's a great big crash, and they're tired, and they're grumpy, and they need a nap, but they can't take one, so they reach for sugar or more caffeine, and that spikes their cortisol up again, right? Because that's a stress hormone, so they spike everything up again, and then they're up for the evening. And when they should be able to turn their body into rest mode and go back down, they can't because that cortisol is in the body and their body's using it for energy. So a lot of people will hit like a kind of surge of energy around 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and they start to kind of perk back up and do things. And then they sleep, and then they wake up again at 3 o'clock in the morning and just lay there, maybe get a couple more hours of sleep, and then they have to start over the next day and do it all over again. So you can see how this cycle would be pretty vicious and pretty repetitive really quickly if you don't interrupt it. And that's what you have to do, is interrupt this pattern, because it also makes you more prone to disease processes. You can get sick more often, and it'll also make you more prone to a fight or flight response. So that's just going to amp your nervous system up even more. So I'm going to give you some strategies to do that. There are several places you can interrupt this pattern and several different ways that you can do it. So starting first thing in the morning, when you wake up, don't go for coffee or caffeine right away. Start your day with tea or warm water, have a good breakfast. If you still need or want coffee, try to put it off till like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, because by then your cortisol's already peaked and you're past the peak. So you're not going to be amping yourself up even more, and you're not going to be affecting the downward trend of it later in the day. Try to stick to 1 cup. I would also try really hard to avoid stressful stimulation. Just control your stimulation when it happens after about 5 p.m. And that's different for everybody. It depends on your situation. Try not to read like difficult emails or return phone calls or anything like that after about 4 or 5 or 6 in the afternoon. Again, it kind of depends on the situation. But if you can avoid stressful stimulus that late in the day, you're not stressing, you're not creating that stress response late in the day that might kind of make it difficult for you to come back down to rest. Now, that crash that happens at 3 p.m., I hear about that a lot from people. That is likely a low blood sugar issue. That is a direct result of your body's response to cortisol burning everything up earlier in the day. So again, the instinct is to reach for like a donut or a candy bar or more coffee. Don't do that. That's the last thing you want to do. Instead, go for something that's going to stabilize your blood sugar in a more consistent way. So you want to do something that's a high protein, a healthy fat, have some guacamole, a piece of cheese, some nuts, something that's going to steady your blood pressure throughout your blood sugar throughout the day. It's also a great idea to find a way to rest for about 15 or 20 minutes. That crash at 3 p.m. responds amazing to laying down for a few minutes. Get horizontal. You don't have to sleep. If you can power nap, that's great, but you don't have to. Just try to lay down for about 15 or 20 minutes, and that'll reset anything that you need reset. And then when you get back up, your energy should increase naturally without a big cortisol spike. Now, at nighttime, the biggest tip I can give you is be consistent with your bedtime and your wake up time. Those vary throughout the week. It kind of depends on what expectations are with family, with the kids, with events, with obligations. Try to be as consistent as you can. A lot of people will sleep in really late on the weekends or go to bed really late on like a Friday night. Do your best to avoid that. If you stay consistent, then that pattern stays where it's supposed to stay and it won't shift on you. Or if it does, it won't shift as dramatically. Now, the 3 a.m. wake up, that is a little bit harder to control, but you have to put work in a little bit earlier in the day to make sure that that doesn't happen. That 3 a.m. crash is a blood sugar crash. So what happens is your glycogen in your liver is so low that your body wants to kind of keep your energy level consistent, and it panics and it thinks it doesn't have enough. So again, the best thing to do before bed, right before bed, is have a healthy protein or fat as a snack. I like to keep hard-boiled eggs around for this exact purpose. If you have something like that or nuts right before bed, it keeps your blood sugar consistent throughout the night and you won't have that 3 a.m. wake up. If you do get up and walk around a little bit before you try to go back to bed, you'll work your way out of it, but this takes time and it's totally worth it once you get it under control. If you aren't sure where the problem is, let us know. We in our office, we do metabolic analysis to assess where those spikes happen and how they're impacting you. You can test cortisol a bunch of different ways. You can test it in your blood, you can test it in your saliva, you can test it in your urine. It depends on the case and what you're looking for, but we can really track where your cortisol spikes during the day, and then we can work our way backwards and figure out where you need to change things in your lifestyle to make sure it's not doing that. Some patients, I do recommend that they do an adrenal support supplement while they're doing this repair work. We carry it in our office. You can find it other places as well. If you're not sure if it's a good quality, speak to me or one of the other doctors. That adrenal support, I recommend only being on for about 2 to 3 months while you're doing the adrenal repair. You don't want to be on it longer than that, but it makes a huge difference. It helps a lot with the process. If you're a patient in our office and you would like to discuss metabolic analysis, or you don't feel like you're functioning optimally and like you've hit a roadblock getting your health where it should be. If you talk to our front desk, they can get you set up for a complimentary metabolic analysis consult where we discuss any health goals and see if there's anything we can do to help. And again, all of this, everything we talk about, it depends on a nervous system that's doing its job well, that's helping you respond to your environment in a way that's healthy and effective. That's our starting point, is a good, healthy, optimally functioning nervous system. So if you know someone who isn't functioning optimally, they're just not getting the health results that they expect, then we would love to help get them checked out. If they call our office at 512-345-9355, we do a full orthopedic neurological test, nervous system analysis, any necessary full spine x-rays, and a report of findings with the doctor. That's normally $348. If they call in and they mention this Facebook Live and say the word cortisol, they can get that for $97. And again, if they're not in our city, let us know where they are, and we are more than happy to do the research to help find a doctor that will help them. So thanks for tuning in to our Facebook Live about adrenal function. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. You can also email or ask us around the office. If there are any topics you would like to hear more about on these Facebook Lives, please let us know. We really enjoy doing these, and we're happy to cover any topics you'd like covered. Make sure you tune in next month to Dr. Neblet's Facebook Live. He's going to be talking about healthy immune systems and how to build one in a post-COVID world. A lot has changed for us, and he's going to give you some great tips on how to maintain that for you and your family. So thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you next month or around the office.